Alright, welcome back. So, before I start, I wanted to say last time I introduced myself as Rogue Ranger. That was a mistake on my part. I used Rogue Ranger 1993 as my call sign. Not my call sign, my as my username on a lot of other sites. And so, I thought I was using that on YouTube when I was in fact using my actual name. So, anyway, for those of you who are actually paying attention, you'll notice that we have changed our lance names here. So, for those of you not in the know, a lance is essentially equivalent to a real-world platoon, usually a vehicle platoon. So, anyways, so yeah, we've renamed them from first, second, and third to Fox, Blue, and Red Lance, and then I've got each lance's combat role in parentheses after that. And this is kind of to mesh with military command procedure that I've recently talked a little bit about on posts on the Classic BattleTech forums with some of the users there. And to kind of, so generally in military command procedure, each unit gets a call sign. I don't know if, generally I think it's like the company level where you start seeing call signs and not the lance platoon level, but we're going to give our lances call signs. And so Diego Montoya, he's the unit's commanding officer, so he gets Fox. He uses the call sign Fox 6, which basically means he's the leader of the unit. Whereas Lieutenant Andre Henderson, who commands our Blue Lance, our Pursuit Lance, he is known as Blue 26, which means he commands the second lance. He's the commander. The number 6 indicates that he's the commander, and the 2 preceding it indicates he's commander of second lance. And then Red 36 means that Lieutenant Katya commands Red Lance, or Red number 3, Red third lance, call sign Red, and she's the commander. Whereas Yoshimatsu, he is Fox 2, which means he's basically the second member of Fox Lance. So basically we've got, so Fox Lance, we've got Fox 6, which is Captain Diego Montoya. And he gets just 06 because he's the overall commander of Alpha Company and of the unit. So, well, maybe not of the unit so far, but he's the overall commander of Alpha Company. So he gets the call sign Fox 06, or just Fox 6. Yoshimatsu gets Fox 2, then Fox 3, and Fox 4, indicating that Yoshimatsu, Hana, and Hangyu are members number 2, 3, and 4 of Fox Lance. Then we have Andre, who is number 2, who's Blue 26, which indicates he is commander of second lance. And then you have number 2 is in Blue number 2 and 3, and then same thing with Red Lance. It's in the, if you want to check out the post, the 2 posts that I am using for reference are radio call sign question and which is one post, and then my own post, what is it called? How does military comms procedure work? And they're in the Inner Sphere subforum of the Classic BattleTech forums. You can check them out if you want. Anyway, so yeah, today we are going to be taking our first mission. So we're currently on Galatea, and here's kind of the Inner Sphere as a general. Blue over here is the Lyran Alliance. I'm sorry, it's the Lyran Commonwealth at this point in time. It changes its name to Lyran Alliance in like 3062, I think. So anyway, so you've got the Lyran Commonwealth over here, Draconis Combine in red, the Federated Suns in yellow, the Capellan Confederation in green, and then in purple is the Free Worlds League. And then down here in the kind of reddish brown along the bottom here, you've got the Tarian Concordate, and you've got the Magistri Canopus over here, the Marian Hegemony over here in kind of this orange color, and they're kind of a, actually no, they're not all the way up here. So this lighter orange color is the Lothian League, and then down here this kind of greenish color is the Marian Hegemony. And so they're kind of a they're kind of a pirate nation at this point. They actually do become more legitimate later on, but they're basically pirates with jumped up senses of self worth. So since they're calling themselves a nation when they're really just kind of a bunch of pirates. And you've got Tortuga, the Tortuga Dominions, which is basically a bunch of pirate planets that have kind of banded together. Outworlds Alliance, which is basically the third major periphery realm, along with Tarian Concordat and the Majesty of Canopus. And then you've got a couple other minor ones like the Lothian League, the Illyrian Palatinate right here. Okay, those are still independent at the moment. And then you've got a couple of pirate realms up here. You've got you got the Chainolaine Isles, the Oberon Confederation, and some more independent worlds. And those are all usually independent nations, sometimes pirate nations as well. So we're going to zoom in here. And, okay, so we're right here on Galatea, which is the mercenary star as I described last time. So, let's come to the marketplace. And so, I'm using, before we go any further, I forgot to go over one of my mech warriors last time, and that was because she's the dispossessed one, Sergeant Noelle Miller. She is, and I've changed their call signs as well. It's like blue, red 36, blue 4. Anyways, so Sergeant Noelle Miller, she is the mech warrior I forgot to go over last time. And the reason I forgot was because she's dispossessed, and so I wasn't thinking because I was going over all the people who had mechs. So she is from the Federated Sons. And so she's the scion of a minor noble family in the Capellan March, which is basically the kind of the state, the interstellar sub-state in the Federated Sons that borders the Capellan Confederation. She's well known in the unit for being something of a firebrand as well. So she fought the Capellans quite a lot during her service with one of the Federated Sons military units known as the Aragon Borderers. They made a raid, however it got botched up, and the family mech got destroyed in battle, and Noelle was captured. So the Capellans then pumped her for some information, for what information they could, then ransomed her back to the family, who were kind of upset at her for destroying the family's property. So she stopped off on some world before even getting back to the family estate. Took a bunch of money out of the family account and ran off to Galatea. And so as far as she's aware, she got disowned long ago. So basically now her main desire is to get her hands on a new battle mech somehow and prove that she's a really good warrior again, and then eventually retire and go home as kind of a triumphant warrior to kind of rub it in their faces like, I'm a great warrior now. I've done all kinds of cool things, and I even got us a new mech. But I don't know if I want to share it with you because it's mine. So, when it comes to personality, she does have a hatred for Capella. It's a pretty strong hatred, and so that has led to several incidents between herself and Hung Yu and Hannah, who are both from the Hannah Sang and Hung Yu Wan, who are both from the Capellan Confederation originally. Though she is still professional and practical enough to realize that their skills are required for the unit's success currently. So she's willing to tolerate them for now, but she's not fond of them. That and Hung Yu doesn't really help that because she's kind of a surly and not terribly nice person to be around. So, anyways, we've gone over her now. So, marketplace. We're going to look at the contract market. So I am actually using version 42.2, which is the latest stable version. There is actually a development version that has more features and stuff, but that's it's an unstable version. It's a development version, so it doesn't. There's going to be bugs, and so I'm just going to stick with 42.2, which is the stable version for now, because it might not have as many cool features, but it's probably our best bet if we want to have a a trouble-free game. So basically, I'm using the against the bot rules, which basically takes away some of the GMing, the game mastering process, and hands it over to kind of AI systems, so that you can kind of just play against the AI. And so basically, we generated 2 contracts this month. I'm not so. Yeah, both of them are objective raids, which is a pretty common. So raiding is pretty small raids are pretty common during the Succession Wars. So the first one is the first one is an offer from the Draconis Combine against the Lyran Commonwealth. So we would be employed by the Draconis Combine, and we would be fighting against the Lyran Commonwealth. The second one is offered by the Federated Sons, and the enemy would be the Capellan Confederation. And so both of these are slightly different. So as you'll notice, I do have these renegotiate buttons. And so basically, if you have an elite, I think it's like an elite or vet. I think it's you have to have either an elite or a veteran administrator. And then if they have the negotiation skill, so if you have like a veteran or elite administrator, I think it might just be elite, but I can't be sure, who also has the negotiation skill, they can renegotiate certain terms depending on what they are. So Argon is basically, he's a logistical administrator, so he allows me, because he also he's an elite, and so because he has that skill level and the negotiation skill, he allows me to renegotiate my support terms, which basically is straight support and battle loss compensation. And we'll go over those in a minute. Diego, I have multitasking. He's a mech warrior, but he also has administration and negotiation skills, and he's also an elite administrator. I think he's an elite administrator. Yeah. So I've employed him in addition to his mech warrior role. I've employed him as a command administrator, which allows me to renegotiate command rights. And so there's basically 4 levels of command rights: integrated, house, liaison, and independent. In independent, you're basically on your own. You don't have anybody watching over you, and you carry out the mission the way you feel that it needs to be carried out. Liaison is much like independent, but you basically have attached liaison personnel. So basically, the employer will take some of their troops and attach them to your unit, and those guys will basically provide guidance as well as watch you to make sure that you're performing the mission in the employer's best interests. House is much more restrictive. It's, if I remember correctly, House rights, basically the mercenary unit is given a commanding officer from the House military, and they have to follow the orders of that House military, of that officer from the House military. So basically, in that way, they become a part of the House military, and they have to follow the orders of the employer's military forces. Integrated is the most restrictive, and is generally something that mercenaries don't like, because what essentially happens is, from my understanding, the employer basically takes basically integrates you into his command structure. So your unit is basically your commanders are removed. So like Andre, Diego, and Katya, they would actually be removed from command positions, and their positions would be then be filled in by by the employer's officers. So essentially, every lance, every part of your unit basically becomes controlled by the house for the duration of the contract. So by the employer. So you're basically controlled by the employer, and the unit has even the unit commander, in this case Diego, would have no say about how the unit was deployed. So the 3 lances, Diego's 3 lances, could actually be split up and sent and be sent to different locations under that kind of contract. So that's really bad. That's why I employed him as a command negotiator. So basically, Diego can renegotiate the contract terms 4 times, and Argon can renegotiate 5 times. And the number of renegotiations that you can make is dependent on the administrator's negotiation skill. And so both of these two people have pretty high negotiation skills. So I have not renegotiated this contract since it looked pretty well fine to me from the beginning. I did, however, renegotiate the support terms on the contract from the Federated Sons. So let me explain these contracts. So basically, I can put in like a contract name here, name the contract. So basically, I'm in each contract. There's an employer and an enemy. Here's the Draconis Common and Land Common. The mission type is an objective raid, which is basically there's two different types of raids essentially. Well, three. There's like recon, extraction, and objective raids. And so recon is basically kind of like a recon, generally a reconnaissance in this. Well, with MegaMek, it's a reconnaissance forces where you basically land your forces on a world and engage the enemy forces to see how willing they are to engage, how strong they are, how skilled they are, that kind of thing. Extraction raids are basically a smash and grab. You go in, grab something or even someone, and then run away with them back behind friendly lines. Kind of like a heist. You basically run in, smash through the enemy defenses, grab some supplies or a person or a mech or whatever, and then take it away with you when you run away. Objective raids are generally similar to search and destroy missions. You land on a target, you smash through defenses, get to your objective, destroy the objective, then turn around and get the hell out of Dodge. So, essentially, the point of an objective raid is to go in and smash something. So, maybe a buildup of enemy troops, or maybe it's a headhunter raid. Maybe you're trying to search out and kill the enemy commander, or something like that. So anyways, so that's what both of these raids are for. And then you've got the location. This is randomly determined, although I should be able to, once I actually take the contract, I believe I can edit the location. So this is how many days it's going to take me to get to the planet where the raid is going to take place, and how many jumps I'm going to have to make. 64 days, wow. That for one jump, that seems kind of huge number. I'll have to check that out. Anyways, ally rating. This is basically their skill rating, green, and their technology rating, which affects the how good the equipment they have is. And so basically, in this contract, I'm basically going to be loaded down with. I'll explain that in a minute. So the enemy is regular F. So they're both going to have pretty poor equipment, but my allies are going to be less skilled than the enemy. If I take this contract, that's the contract start date. So it basically it's calculated so that it starts once you hit planet side. Contract length. This is how many months the contract is going to last. Here it's 3 months. So for an objective raid, this is actually seems kind of stupid. Why in the name of the Holy Mother would you go to a planet on an objective raid and stay there for 3 months? Objective raids are basically you run in, smash something, and then run away. You're not supposed to stay there for a long time, doing all kinds of damage, because eventually you're going to get caught. Check out the Wikipedia article on Morgan's raid from the American Civil War. I mean, he was doing a lot of damage to the Union side during his 46-day raid. He was raiding in the Union territories for 46 days, but by the end of that, the Union forces had managed to close in and capture and basically take him out. So the longer you stay in enemy territory, the more likely you are to get caught. And I mean, he lasted 46 days. That's impressive, but I think that's like a month and a half, 2 months maybe. I think it's close to how long we're going to be in this working this contract, but maybe I think it's maybe like a month. What is it, like 30 days in a month? I think. No, it's 4 times 7 is 28. So he lasted 28 plus 28 is 40 plus 6, so 56. So he was about a week shy of 2 months when he was captured. So yeah, check that out. Might be a fun story. I need to check it out myself, anyways. But yeah, I don't want to be spending 3 whole months on the enemy planet on an objective raid. So what I'm going to do is, if I take either of these objective raids, I'm basically going to run in, fight 1 or 2 battles, and then jump out. And basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to run in, fight 1 or 2 battles, complete the contract, and then run away, but to friendlier territories. In order to await my next contract. So overhead compensation full. So that means they'll pay for the overhead costs, things like sundries, basically. So like they'll pay for the unit's toilet paper, toothpaste, food and water, maybe some like personal ammunition costs, but basically sundry items. Stuff that you're going to rack up just through daily living. Command rights is liaison here, and with Karita, command rights are kind of hard to bargain for, so I was kind of surprised to see liaison command rights there right off the bat. I could try renegotiating for independent, but I'm a little leery about doing that, since I might just renegotiate for something worse. But so liaison command rights mean that they'll apply some allies with me, and so basically in game terms in MegaMek, that means I will have 1 additional unit added to my lance by the employer when they're employed in a battle. Transport terms 25%. So that means they're willing, the employer is willing to cover 25% of the cost that my unit requires to be transported to the contract location. So basically, say I'm paying 100,000 sea bills to get to Eliath, and so the employer is willing to pay 25,000 sea bills out of that. So I still have to pay for quite a bit of the transportation costs, but we're willing to cover some of it. Salvage rights, basically I get to keep 50% of whatever I destroy. So let's say I destroy 4 BattleMechs in my first battle. I get to keep 2 of those enemy BattleMechs that I knocked out of action. And then we come to support. There's straight support and battle loss compensation here. Straight support, that's basically I get a certain amount of money every month, which is nice if you're on a contract that doesn't have a lot of combat involved in it. But for something like an objective raid, I prefer battle loss compensation, which basically means if I lose a certain amount of, basically if something is damaging my unit, like say the autocannon on my dragon is shot to bits, I will get a certain amount of money from that autocannon's worth. And so that's actually based on the sale value according to my campaign settings, not the actual purchase value of the item. But currently I have 100% battle loss compensation, which is pretty darn good. And then this is the number of lances you are required to deploy during the contract, and we'll get into that once we actually take the contract. So, and then it goes over the money that you owe. I actually am not going to pay the MRBC fee because the MRBC does not exist at this point. Currently that role is filled by Comstar's Mercenary Review Board, and as far as I remember, they do not require units to pay for their services. And so that actually means that I get a bit more money out of both of these contracts. Not much, but a bit. Anyways, so that was the Draconis Common contract. The Fed Sons contract is okay. So basically, allies would be regular with D-rated equipment. Same for the enemy. That is 4 jumps to get to Epsilon Indy, which is where the contract would take place. But it's a bit shorter time. It's like about 18 days less travel time. Contract is the same length of time. Full overhead compensation once again. Here's the cool part. They basically gave independent command rights right from the start. And so that's nice because it means I don't have to worry about getting employer units killed, which basically really negatively affects your contract. But it also means that I won't have the backup of the employer units. So basically, it's kind of a trade-off. I don't have to worry about the employer units, and I can just go with my own forces, and I'm fully independent. But it also means that I can't rely on that extra unit given to me by the employer for backup in a battle. So pick and choose there. They're actually willing to cover 50% of the transport terms, which, considering the number of jumps, could be substantial savings. They're willing to give me 40% salvage rights, which is a bit less than the Combine is willing to give me, but decent. I actually had to renegotiate 4 times in order to get a decent amount of battle loss compensation. I ended up getting 100% battle loss compensation again. So, in the end, both contracts are relatively even. Really, it comes down to, do I want to travel? Really, it comes down to just a couple factors. First off, the Fed Sons contract is, it's further away jump-wise. It's further away, but it takes less time to get there. Independent command rights, which is very nice. And then it also comes down to pay. The Federated Sons contract offers me roughly 1.4 million at the end, estimated total profit. That is probably going to be reduced by battle losses and the need to acquire spare parts and stuff like that. Anyways, but the Draconis Combine offers me roughly 1.8 million, so that's about an extra 400 grand on top of. So if I take the one from the Kuritas, I basically get an extra 400 grand out of that contract. But I don't know. Tough decision. I get slightly more salvage and a larger estimated profit out of the Kurita contract, and liaison command rights are not bad. That's actually pretty lenient for the Draconis Combine, especially for them to offer it right away. So I could really take that. The only two things that worry me here are the extra time to get there isn't really a big deal. Just spending less time traveling means more time earning money. The one thing that really worries me is the fact that my allies they're not only going to be in absolute crap for equipment, but they're going to be green. They're not going to have good skills, which means they're probably not going to be able to hit the broadside of a barn, and they're probably going to die really, really early. And so that's what worries me about the Kurita contract. But it is a tough decision because both of these contracts are relatively even. I just want to check real quick and see just why it takes. It's like one jump from, where is it? Eliath is one jump away. So, yeah, so it takes 12 days to get from Galatea to a jump ship, waiting at either the zenith or nadir jump point of the system. So I can understand that, but one jump is basically instantaneous. So 12 days, then 12 days we hit the drop ship. 12.0, yeah, basically 12 days we hit the drop ship. We hit the jump ship. I'm sorry, and then we jump to Eliath, and that's instantaneous. So, so apparently it takes 51 and a half days to get from the jump point to the planet of Eliath. That is absolutely insane. That is an insane amount of time. Oh my god. Oh jeez. That is absolutely crazy. That's why it's taken so damn long to get there. It's like 64, 20, 30. Yeah, that's basically 2 whole months of travel in space. Oh my gosh. Okay. Whereas Epsilon Indy, I have to make like 4 jumps to get there, and I can cut off like 18 days of travel time. that, and it's like just one jump away from Northwind, which is, if I remember correctly, Northwind is a mercenary hiring hall at this point in time. I think it's a bit more exclusive. It's the home of the Northwind Highlanders. But yeah, I can jump straight from Epsilon Indy straight to Northwind to restock and resupply while looking for another contract. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Federated Suns contract. So, contract market. And going to accept. So we're going to come to the briefing room. So now we have our contract here. And I'm going to edit the mission here real quick. And I'm not really going to do anything really different with it. So you can adjust the enemy starting morale. There are several game master options here you can adjust. It's like you can adjust the location you're going to, the enemy and the employer, the contract name, the ally ratings for skill and technology level, the type of contract, how many lances are required, the enemy's starting morale. I'm going to change our allied... Well, I don't really have to do that because we don't have any allied units. So cancel that. But I'm going to change the enemy's camo so that we actually have... We're gonna use a Capellan camo. Liao. Let's use the Capellan Defense Force. I don't know. I don't know where any of these units are stationed. So I can't actually tell you anything about them. So we'll name this Fedsons versus Capellan Confederation. And we're going to name we're going to add number 1 so that I can keep track of this. This is my first contract. So number 1, Fedsons versus Capellan Confederation. I may change that name later. Yeah, I may change the name of the contract to something a bit more cool later on. But that we're going to be hitting Epsilon Indy in an objective raid. Monthly payout is 704,189 C-bills. And I may add a mission description later. I may just keep it as it is. So, so versus the Fedsons versus Capellan Confederation. Arrange that. We're going to arrange it like that. And right. So, and you'll notice that I have my funds have increased from roughly 800,000 to about 1.5 million, and that's because I had 25%. How to explain this? Basically, let's take a look at the contract market just so I can show you. No, wrong thing. We'll get into the personnel market later. So basically, you'll see up here, 20 advanced. You've got a signing bonus percentage that you can edit. I'm probably not going to play around with that, and advanced percentage. So basically, the default, which is also the maximum, is that I get paid 25% of the contract's total amount in advance, which I can then use to pay for supplies, last-minute supply acquisitions, new personnel, transport costs, that kind of thing. So, so that means I got... yeah, it doesn't say it. Anyway, so we're going to ignore that. So I'm going to come to the interstellar map. I'm going to find Epsilon Indy, which is our target world. And apparently I need to pause the video so that I can answer the phone. Okay, so back to where we were. So yeah, so I select Epsilon Indy as my... Okay, whatever. Anyways, so I select Epsilon Indy as my destination. Click on it. Calculate jump path. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4 jumps. 45.25 days, essentially. It's going to cost me 640,000 C-bills. The Davians are paying 50% of that. So I'm only going to have to pay 320,000. So, and we're going to begin transit. And so, we're going to use a tool here. The advance multiple days tool here. We're going to advance 1 month, essentially. We're going to advance 30 days. So basically, you click Start Advancement there once you've determined the number of days you want to go. And come on, it takes a minute to work as it calculates everything. So, and the more time you're passing through using the system, the longer it takes. So, generally, passing a week doesn't take very long, but this is a whole 30 days, so this could take a minute. There we go. So, basically, it gives us reports. So, okay, so the personnel market is basically updating every day, apparently. So, I might as well show you the personnel market. So, oh wow, that's a lot of people. Okay, so, basically, this is the personnel market. So, this is kind of an in-character way to recruit people. You may notice that I'm using the ink effects portraits. These are different portraits than the ones that you were seeing in my personnel roster, and that's because I basically had those personnel roster pictures selected out from a character image pack of my own creation. The ink effects pack, however, has far more pictures than my collection does, and it's available free, so you can basically, and everybody seems to use it anyway, so I figured I'd just use that and then just keep my own custom pictures that I made for special characters. So basically this just randomly generates different recruits that you can hire, and so I'm using the random system currently. There's like a system called Dylan's method, which I don't like quite as much. Tends to generate a huge hugely number of people that just doesn't seem appropriate. And in addition, the strategic operations and field manual mercenaries methods are a bit different. Strategic operations method, which is basically the current standard method, according to the rules, that one basically generates 1 person a week, which is I'm not terribly fond of that. And field manual mercenaries can generate 0 people per week, or I think it's like up to 3 or 4 maybe. So I kind of like this one better because there is a wider array of recruits, and you're seeing that like there's 1 mech warrior of it for hire. He's a green mech warrior piloting a hunchback. And then there's 2 aero pilots. These guys basically pilot aerospace fighters. Then you've got like the 2 administrators. Battle armor techs I basically just ignore because the only battle armor around right now is the personal armor light suit. Battle armor doesn't really exist yet. There's like I guess you'd call them kind of like combat exoskeletons, called personal armor light, but those are kind of considered lost tech, so nobody really has them. So we've got like a conventional fighter pilot, some doctors, a single hyperspace navigator, a mechanic and a mech tech, some medics, some ship captains, well, some ship drivers, I guess helmsmen. Helmsmen's for like battleships and stuff, blue water stuff. Proto-pilots I ignore because proto-mechs do not exist yet. And then we got vehicle and VTOL crewmen. And so you'll notice that like mech warriors are pretty rare. And so we've only got like 1 here. And we've only got 2 aero pilots as well, which since they're kind of rare. Most of the other characters here are either support personnel or they're more conventional. Their specialties in more conventional weaponry, such as vehicles or helicopters and conventional and naval ships and blue water ships and where is he? And conventional fighters. kind of like what we have today, rather than starfighters. So I'm actually not going to recruit any of them. So I'm just going to advance today manually. Okay, so like at the start of every month, your account is debited for personnel salaries. So basically, I'm being like for finances, monthly I have to pay 38,000, roughly 38.5 thousand. I'm sorry, 38,500, roughly 38,500 C bills per month in monthly expenses, and most of that is salaries. They're like 33,500, nearly 33,500 in salaries for my mech warriors, and then the maintenance is like 3,300, and overhead's only like 1,700. So you can get it. Yeah, personnel are your most expensive. Are your the most expensive part of your upkeep. Everything else is, yeah. 6, 100. We're jumping tomorrow. Right. So okay. So we've jumped to Epsilon Indy, and jumping is in this universe is actually instantaneous. There's no hyperspace crap like in Star Wars. You basically you're like you're there, and then you're not. So like I'm here, and then like almost instantaneously I am somewhere else. Kind of cool. Of course, this little basically kind of lighter shaded, this shaded circle around the planet of Epsilon Indy, that is a 30 light year radius circle, and so basically I can jump all the way to Kawich, but I cannot jump. I can like jump to this planet here, Kawich, but I cannot jump to this planet here because it's more than 30 light years away. So you can only jump 30 light years at a time before needing to stop and recharge your batteries for, I think it's something like it's something like a week usually. Anyways, so we're going to advance the day a couple times. So, and then you can see up here that our jump ship is currently 80% charged, and we're roughly 5.25 days out from landing on Epsilon Indy. So I'm just going to keep advancing. 4, 3. So our jump ship is now fully charged. So the minute we reach our jump ship while running away, we can just jump right out of system. 1.25. Okay, quarter day left, and we have arrived on Epsilon Indy. And so this is where, so the contract has actually now began. The contract has now begun. So if we come to like my finances, you'll see that compared to my monthly profit, I'm making a monthly income of 704,000, roughly 704,190. And this is my monthly profit. So this is how much I'm making after I pay my monthly expenses. So let's come to the briefing. So now that the mission is started, I have to assign, I get a contract score of 1. And that's my starting score. And that can go up or down depending on what happens. And so I have to assign at least one of my units to scouting duties. And what do I want to do with that? I can't assign more units if I want. I'm going to assign, so I'm going to come over here. I'm going to assign Foxlands to the scouting duty and leave it at that for now. And so now that I've actually assigned my duties, I can basically advance the day until I get an event. Oh, 19. So there is an event. So, okay, so I just entered the new week, which apparently starts on Monday here. And so there is one event occurring this week, apparently on the 19th. Hide and seek attacker. So basically, conditions. So victor conditions. So I have to destroy half of the enemy units while less than 1/3 of my own forces are destroyed. And the winner will control the battlefield after the battle. And if you have control of the battlefield when the conflict ends, that means you get to collect any salvage off of that battlefield. If you don't have control of the battlefield, then you cannot collect salvage. So let's see. So my Fox Lance versus the Compelling Confederation. They're going to start in the center of the map. I'm going to start on the east side of the map. So no wind, light fog. There's going to be light fog, so that's going to make it a bit harder to see and hit people. Hill, sandy hill. So I can actually I think if you have a command, I think it's if you have a command negotiator that you can re-roll some of this stuff. So I'm going to keep hills. Sandy hills I'm going to try and re-roll. No, I don't want town hills out, so I'm going to try and re-roll that as well. You know, I'll keep hills craters for now. And right, so we have our first battle, and that's going to be on the 19th. So I'm going to end it here. Well, yeah, we're going to end the episode here. And next episode, we will actually fight our first battle. And I'm doing this because battles can take quite a while in this game, depending on how large they are. So I'm not going to start the battle now, because that would make our show run over, as I'm trying to keep my episodes roughly somewhere between half an hour to an hour in length. Just makes it faster to upload and easier for you guys to watch the show without having to sit there for 3 hours or something. So, yeah, this is Vincent signing off, and we'll see you next episode.